In Seattle, USA, there's a renowned church where Pastor Dale Taylor, not only highly respected but also known for inspiring young people, has long used vivid stories to awaken the inner potential of his listeners. One winter, he told a class at the church's school a story and left a lasting impression on the children with a unique invitation that illustrated the powerful difference between doing your best and giving your all. The story featured a hunter, his dog, and a wounded rabbit. In the silent, cold winter woods, the hunter and his dog set out on a hunt. With a gunshot, the rabbit was hit in its hind leg and began to flee desperately. The dog saw this and chased at full speed, determined not to relent despite the rugged, steep terrain. However, after a while, the rabbit's figure disappeared from view, and it managed to escape. Frustrated, the dog returned to the hunter, empty-handed. The hunter, looking at his dog's failed attempt, couldn't help but rebuke him. "You're useless. You couldn't even catch a wounded rabbit." The dog, feeling wronged, replied, "I did my best." The rabbit, meanwhile, dragged its injured body back home. Its siblings gathered around, astonished, and asked, "The hunting dog was fierce, and you were injured. How did you outrun it?" The rabbit, panting, replied, "The dog was doing its best, but I gave it my all. If it didn't catch me, it would just get scolded. But if I didn't escape with everything I had, I'd lose my life." After telling the story, Pastor Taylor looked over the faces of students, then solemnly said, "This story shows us that to truly stand out, merely doing your best is not enough. Only by giving your all can you discover and even exceed your own limits." The students sat in thoughtful silence. Then Pastor Taylor announced a challenge. If any of you can memorize chapters 5 through 7 of the Gospel of Matthew in their entirety, I'll invite them for a free meal at the Space Needle restaurant in Seattle. Perched at Seattle's highest point, the Space Needle offers stunning views and is only accessible to a few. For the students, this was not only a special dining experience, but a badge of honor. Excited by the prize, the students were eager to try. Soon, however, they realized the challenge was far more difficult than they had imagined. Chapters 5 to 7 of the Gospel of Matthew were thousands of words long, lacked rhyme, and were challenging to remember. For most children, memorizing such a large volume of text felt insurmountable. Many students started the effort, but within a few days, most had given up, comforted by the idea that doing your best was enough and secretly hoping no one else would succeed. A week later, just as Pastor Taylor thought the challenge might end quietly, a small boy named Bill stood up confidently and said, "Pastor, I can recite it." Bill Gates, then just 11 years old, was small and unremarkable in appearance, but he had an exceptional memory and understanding. He knew it would take enormous effort to memorize those chapters, yet he chose to give it his all. After school, he spent hours repeatedly reading and memorizing, imprinting every word and sentence into his mind. A few days later, when Pastor Taylor announced the end of the challenge, Bill stood in the middle of the classroom and began his recitation. Without missing a word, he recited the entire passage with expressive clarity, almost transforming it into a heartfelt speech. Pastor Taylor watched in amazement, knowing how challenging this feat was, and that even many adult believers struggled to memorize such a lengthy passage. Yet this boy had succeeded. The classroom erupted in applause, and both students and teachers admired Bill's memory. But even more, Pastor Taylor was moved by his determination. He smiled and asked, "Bill, how did you manage to accomplish something so difficult?" Bill's answer was simple and powerful. "I gave it my all." This 11-year-old boy would later grow up to change the world as the founder of Microsoft, Bill Gates. In the years that followed, Bill Gates not only created the world's most famous software company, but also became a business legend. His success was rooted in his unwavering commitment to give his all and push beyond his limits. Gates never settled for merely doing his best. He sought to give his all. During Microsoft's early days, he faced numerous challenges. In the development phases, he and his partners worked countless all-nighters, often living in the office. When competitors threatened, he led his team tirelessly, pushing until the very end. Gates knew he wasn't simply chasing success. He was envisioning a future where technology would change the world. for him, doing his best was never enough. The story of the rabbit and the hunting dog, shared by Pastor Taylor, was Gates' earliest inspiration. This simple tale taught him the true meaning of giving his all, and it became his guiding principle. Gates understood that merely doing one's best wouldn't achieve the highest goals. Only through unyielding effort could one rise above. Psychologists point out that most people use only 2% to 8% of their potential. Even geniuses like Einstein only tapped about 12%. Studies show that if one could unlock 50% of their potential, they could memorize 400 textbooks, complete the curriculum of over a dozen universities, or even master more than 20 languages. But for most people, 90% of their potential remains dormant. This means that when we merely do our best, we're leaving much of our true capacity untapped, far from reaching our limits. Bill Gates' journey to success wasn't just about intelligence or talent. It was built on his relentless effort in everything he undertook. At Microsoft's peak, he didn't rest on his accomplishments, but focused even more on innovation and expanding the market. He knew that this spirit of giving one's all was the core of achieving great dreams. Today, Bill Gates has not only achieved remarkable success in technology, but also become a globally recognized philanthropist, committed to improving health, education, and poverty issues worldwide. Reflecting on Pastor Taylor, Gates expressed deep gratitude, recalling how that wise pastor's challenge taught him the essence of giving one's all. Thanks to this spirit, Gates approached each stage of life with unwavering dedication, achieving his goals and dreams. Pastor Taylor's inspiration impacted not only Bill Gates, but also countless others, showing that true success isn't about talent. It's about fully tapping into one's potential and pursuing goals with unrelenting determination. Only by giving our all and constantly challenging ourselves can we create excellence and make our lives truly meaningful. This story reminds us that each of us has immense potential, waiting to be developed. If we, like Bill Gates, refuse to settle for doing our best and instead choose to give our all, we can undoubtedly create our own miracles.